Hey there, the Magical Solution. We are just getting ready for our Angel Aura show. And I'm going to wait for a couple of you guys to get on. I'm excited. Oh, my hair is a hot mess. Let me get this going. Ooh. Okay. All right.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hi.
There I am. I can hear myself. Okay. So today's topic, for those of you who are starting to filter in, today we're going to be talking about living with a partner or a family member or a child who has gifts. And on the flip side, being someone who has gifts and living in a home or with a partner who doesn't have that, and what that kind of interplay looks like and how best to support each other, etc., etc. So get your thinking caps on, get your questions ready, and we will get started soon. Are you going to start or am I going to start?
I'll start.
Okay. Do you need this thing?
Sure.
It's kind of like a talking point.
Just let me know when you want me to fade it out.
Oh, God. I can't get on. And welcome to the Angel Aura Spiritual Boutique Radio Hour. I'm Martha. I'm standing in for Diane, and I'm here with the lovely, charming Leilani.
Hey, what's up, Martha?
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just having a little problem here trying to get live on Facebook.
Okay.
But I'm gonna get it in about 2 seconds.
I'm having issues trying to save everything and share everything to where it needs to go.
I don't know if I can get live on Facebook. So guys, you're just going to have to tune in to Pauling Public Radio.
There it is.
There it is. Thank you.
You found it.
Okay, I think I might be live. I'm not sure. But here, we're streaming live from the Rush Studios at 26 East Main Street in Pauling, New York. You can listen live at TuneIn Radio, www.paulingpublicradio.org, and beatofthevalley.com.
And you can check us out on Facebook Live at the Angel Aura Spiritual Boutique Facebook Live page, right?
Yeah,
on my page, The Magical Solution, on Sacred Owl's page, on Martha's page. So that you won't miss a minute of it.
Yeah, you can definitely, if Angel Aura is not coming through, then you can definitely link into Leilani or Owl's. Well, Owl's not here yet either. So don't look at his page yet. Look at it later.
Okay.
So I just want to let you know that Diane is still away. She's still in Florida, but she'll be back later this week. And starting January 31st, we're going to have a full schedule at the shop.
Yes.
Everybody will be back, rested and revived, and will be up and running.
Yes, I'm excited.
And we've got a new schedule of readers. On Wednesdays, Diane will be giving readings at the shop. Thursdays, Star will be there all day, giving her celestial readings. Pina will be there on Fridays. Every other Saturday, Leilani and her wonderful
and Martha.
and Martha we're gonna alternate because we both offer different kinds of classes, along with giving you readings. And Al
What's up, Al?
will be back
We just
on
got
Sundays,
started.
full force with the sound bath meditation and readings.
Yes.
So we have a wonderful lineup. Diane has a wonderful lineup of things for us coming up in February. She'll be celebrating the month of love. So
Mm-hmm.
stay tuned to the Facebook page and the website for upcoming specials.
Yes.
I wonder what she's got cooking for us.
I'll tell you right off the bat what she's got cooking for you in February for the month of love. My class that I'm super excited about.
Well, you
What is
should
it?
be.
It's a class about love and lust crafting.
Ooh.
So we're going to get together. We're going to talk about all things love, all things lust. We're going to get into relationships and bonds, and we're going to get into all the mystical, magical things that you can do around that to improve on your self-love, on your love life and relationships, on your sexual life, and how to get things revving and rolling. And it's going to be exciting, and everyone walks away with a little gift that they worked on, a little craft that they work on
Uh-oh.
in the class.
Oh,
So I'm
what kind of
excited.
crafts?
I'm
Oh,
psyched.
yeah.
Can we be privy to the crafts that you're going to be using?
No.
No. Yeah, you knew she was going to do that, right? You
No.
knew she was going to do that, right?
Well, actually, I like the way she says no when she's being cute.
Mhm. Yeah, well, yeah, because all that cutie stuff is like, and Leilani is like completely not that person. So it's all good
she's
though.
cute.
It's all good, yeah. Oh no, she's cute, but I'm saying that girly cutie thing. No, she's got the bigger pair than I got. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, but it's,
Some days.
yeah. Well, most of the time that I've encountered you, so it's a good thing. It's really a good thing. So. Where they can listen to us live.
Yes,
and everything
we
like that.
did.
Wonderful. Okay, no problem. 'Cause
Yeah.
the big kahuna, the Aries kahuna that I was, I said, oh, I got time. You're right. So, I but it's all good.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's all good.
So let's introduce what our people are going to be listening to right now. So the topic that we decided brought up, I thought it was a great subject, is living with an intuitive partner, family member, child. What that looks like, how do people cope in those kinds of situations, and also on the flip side, what it's like for someone with spiritual gifts to then live in a home filled with people who don't have that, and how do you cope with that?
And in some cases, people who don't believe.
And don't believe, exactly.
Right.
So,
Which
yeah.
is huge, because a lot of people that are family members, they know what we do and what we go through, and they still like, I don't believe it. Are you serious?
Right.
Did you not see me levitate that thing? No.
But it's true, though. You can give them all the evidencia in the world, and they still are like, nah, I didn't just see that.
Well, you know how that is.
Yes.
It's just trying to,
But you said that you have some experience with that, Martha. Did you want to share a little bit about either side, either one?
Oh, yeah. I had my proclivities to seeing spirit and feeling and all of that. And, through my life, when I've tried to fit in with the real world or the regular world, I've turned it off. But I never quite fit in. So finally, when I got old, I decided, you know what, this is who I am, and they just have to take it. And my partner does not believe. He, in fact, thinks when you die, you just close your eyes and it's black. He's so afraid of that he won't even meditate. He has trouble sleeping because even sleep feels like death to him.
Wow.
So he's at the complete opposite end of the spectrum for me. So when I started doing readings, it was like mind-blowing. He didn't believe any of it. He's like, yeah, you got, you're just selling you're making up some bullshit, and excuse me.
I think we're allowed to curse on this one. I think we can.
Okay, yes.
Which is good, because I say the F word a lot. Continue.
And you're making it up, and yeah. So then after I'd have clients and he'd hear us laughing and he'd see people crying and he'd see the boxes of tissues we'd go through,
right,
he asked what was going on. So I would tell him. I would tell him the way the information came through. that attracted him.
Mm.
Like, the psychic stuff, like knowing, like seeing somebody sitting in a field of poppies, and why are poppies so important to you? And it turned out that all of them had poppy tattoos on their thighs because it was in honor of their grandmother. Connected to those things that took place.
Right.
But then as the years went by and he started to see the depth that was coming through, he started to soften on it, and he really thinks now that there is something out there and we can all tap into it. And he's even gotten to the point where he's seeing spirits. And that for me is mind-blowing because he's, the most closed up person there is.
Right.
So it's been a rough road getting there, but he's opened up to it.
Right. Wow. Yeah, and I like the one thing that I think kind of sticks out to me personally is that he was open just enough to let that little crack of light through so that he can see how you're transforming people's lives, how you're affecting people. And then that crack just got bigger and bigger. It's like chipping away at this wall that he had. And I think that's a beautiful thing to kind of start with when it giving advice to don't have gifts, is just to be a little, just a crack open to it, so that you're not completely walling the person out, completely shutting them out,
and denying their gifts. It may not be your reality, spirit, and receive information, but it's certainly, if you deny that, if you turn your back on it, you're isolating them. And you're not only creating a rift in your relationship, you're creating an issue for that person to fully realize who they are.
Exactly.
And if you love someone, you want to encourage everything about them.
That's right. What about you, Al? What's your experience with either living with someone with gifts or being someone in a household with gifts and no one around you having it? Or have you always just lived in a magical household? Or what's up? What's up with you?
Didn't you grow up in a household like that?
Well, I did, which is mind-boggling because, in fact, today, just a quick moment, for those who know me, just send a thought and prayer out for my mom. She's really suffering, and I just came from the hospital to work with her, worked on her, and my dad did something very unique today. He said, I need you to sit next to her and do that what you do.
And do that thing.
Yeah, do that what you do. But the crazy thing is that he's the one that taught me. So when he says do that what you do, so I did. I started doing all those things, but he's the one that opened me up to understanding archetypes and dealing with the type of beings that are out there and seeing spirits in that manner. The problem is that I have 3 aunts, well actually 4, actually 5, I forget how many aunts I have, and they're all intuitive, and my mother. So you can never lie, you always got in trouble, and when you have people who are intuitive, but they already have their conclusion before you explain yourself, what they do is catch you lying. So they have a reason to pull out the belt or
you know dang well that they ask you the question already knowing the answer.
Exactly. So they completely setting you up. What happens, you kind of like, oh, okay, well, that does. Now my son, my beautiful son, he knows now not to even try. He just says, yeah, I did it. Okay, I'm gonna have to deal with the consequences because I did it. Because I see auras. Your aura changes when you're not telling the truth. It changes to a person, and then your gut flips, and you know that that's happening. The thing about it is that
right, yeah.
You're hanging out, and you kind of talk without talking, and you kind of see what's going on. You kind of understand how people feel and what they're going through, and you can kind of relate to them. And so, like, sometimes you don't have to say, and then to say, leave me alone. They know to space. And the crazy thing is that one of my criteria is in any relationship, I have to deal with a person who has intuition. If not, what's the point? what's even the point for me? You know, and so if they have an intuition, then we can talk, we could connect and communicate without having to do all that yip yap and yin yang stuff that goes along with all that. But you know, that's that. But I have a lot more to talk about with that. But you know, we'll get to it. And we've got a whole freaking hour to talk. So you know.
Yeah.
You know, but
you want to say hello to some of the people on Facebook, see if anyone has any questions. I definitely want to say hello. We have Huertero Yael Hernandez, my mother Miriam, Mel, Muhammad, Aida. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Tell us about your experience. He was one of those children with the gifts, and it wasn't always a good experience for him as a child. Muhammad, I can definitely relate to that. Now, this isn't to say that I had a bad upbringing, not at all, but I did live in a family where everyone did have intuitions and did have their own special kinds of magic, but I lived in a household that, you know, it was things that they just didn't talk about. It wasn't something that they wanted to acknowledge. It was superstitious. It was uncomfortable. And, you know, I had most of my childhood and dealing with this on my own. In a school, dealing with it, and just kind of being. So it wasn't. I had to show evidence of my gifts to. Oh, okay, all right. I guess this is what it is. This is what's happening. So we're gonna just let you just be your person.
That's great.
And I was so grateful for that. So it's one of those things where I understand where you're coming from, at least with the childhood. And one of the things a piece of advice that I would like to give to some is a kid who is gifted, home that doesn't quite acknowledge that gift. You know, try your best to understand that your purpose is big and it's so beautiful. You don't have to be understood to fulfill that purpose. Ideally, we all want to be understood on that level.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we just have to be patient, and sometimes we might get it all. But as long as we have that connection with spirit and we're getting that fulfillment somewhere, I think that's what's important. For me, the fulfillment was in nature. For me, the fulfillment was in getting validation from strangers. And once I felt comfortable in my person, the switch of 0 F's turned on, and I was like, okay, I'm okay being me, you know?
But I think growing up in a household where you have gifts and they're displayed and no one receives them, it's hard to just be.
Yeah.
So because you need, you know, when you're growing up, it's your family that really validates who you are.
And it hurts the most because it's your family.
And if you don't know what they are, if you don't know the voices that you're hearing are spirit, that's when you get committed and you know, get labeled as schizophrenic. And there may, in some cases, definitely be schizophrenia and paranoia and all that stuff.
And in other cases, it might just be the miseducation or just someone not there to guide you.
And we know somebody who comes into the shop who had just that happen to her.
Right.
And Diane was the one who explained to her, this is what you're feeling, this is what you're seeing. And it just opened up the floodgates for her. And, you know, she's wonderful now.
Yeah.
But it's a really difficult situation for anyone to be in who's not getting that sustenance. So in your daily life, if you come across somebody who you know to be an empath and know that they don't understand it, just clue them in that you understand what's going on. Give them an opening to come and talk to you. Because that's what happened with me. It was just a woman across the street who was a friend of my mom's who started telling me what I was seeing. And that gave me the validation I needed to know that I wasn't insane.
Right.
All right, guys, for a quick moment, if those who can't hear the other mics, because we're doing it through live, you can listen to the whole show at www.polandpublicradio.org and thebeatofthevalley.com. And you get all three mics at the same time talking, so that way you can hear the show, and then you can put your Facebook Live in the background. It's going to be kind of a little delay, but, you know, knock yourself out with that. And don't drive yourself too crazy. But continuing with the topic, Is there anybody in social media you want to say hi to?
Well, I want to say hi to Heather and Lisa, who've been tuning in regularly. They never really post comments, but they're always here listening. And I want to say hi to Diane and Marion and anyone else who's coming on.
Great. And the people I want to say hi to is a freaking list here, but it's Francisco, Mary Willis, Marion Verdunk, Laura Reyna, Mike Presley. Hey, Mike, how you doing? I'll give you a big hug for me. Nancy, Ashley Scanlon, Laura Reyna, I think I said that. Jessica, hi, how you doing? Emil, Michael, hey Mike, I hope everything came back from your surgery. Sierra, hey love, hugs to the baby. And all the others that I have such a list. Trisha from Florida, we got people from Florida watching and stuff like that. So we appreciate you. And so to continue on our topic though, how did you deal as an individual growing up in a family, but also socially, how did you deal with the isolation that you experienced?
Well, I wasn't isolated because of that. They thought I was freaking cool.
Okay, good.
so it actually upped my status.
Well, see, that's rare because a lot of people get iced out because they don't really, they're scared of what they don't understand. And they ice you out. How did you deal with the ice out?
I gotta give myself props, man. Not to sound like one of those people, but for really real, like, I gotta give myself props because I was always a very savvy, smart kid. I always knew, what was the lowdown, what was happening. I was very observant, asked a lot of questions. I had a bullshit meter that was so accurate. And I remember being a kid and realizing right off the bat that my spiritual gifts were not a thing people wanted to talk about or acknowledge. And so when I was in social settings, I used my other gifts to be that person. So my singing, anything that my martial arts, anything that I enjoyed that was more relatable to people is what I engaged in. To stay under wraps, if you will. As a matter of fact, I went through all of grammar school. No one really even knew that I was interested in stuff like this. I never brought it up, never talked about it.
Right.
And that's how I dealt with the social pressures. It was only when someone else instigated a conversation that I was like, oh, so, you know what I mean? And even then, you keep it to a minimum.
That's pretty good. That's pretty ballsy of you.
But it's tough because not everyone has that. Like, not everyone can say, oh, well, I have another talent that I don't have another talent that I can engage in, or, oh, I'm not good at anything, or, oh, and it's tougher for people like that. And so one of the things that I always say is, find your tribe. Find your tribe. If you're not the kind of person who myself, I was a people pleaser, so I changed myself to fit in.
Right.
That doesn't always work for everyone. If you're someone who can't do that or doesn't want to compromise in that sense or doesn't have something to fit in with, then find your tribe. Be okay with being alone. Be okay with loving yourself and being alone until you find those people that vibe on that same length as you. And they will come.
And to that note, I like to call it being a vibrational snob, because
yes.
if people, especially if you're an empath, because you're so wide open and you're absorbing so many different feelings and emotions and sensory perceptions, that if someone is off, if their energy is off, they're a little bit mean and you have no meanness in you, and every time you're around that person, you start to feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Be a snob. You don't have to be mean to them, but you can just,
boundaries.
Keep your boundaries.
Boundaries.
That's right. That's another thing. No is actually a complete sentence.
Yep.
And you could use that.
Now, mind you, do you know as your gift that you have people out there who have predatory vampire energy?
Mm-hmm.
They pick you out of a crowd,
And
it's
there's also ethical vampires.
Mm-hmm.
Explain that. I like that term, but explain it, please.
When they know what they're doing, and they have a sense of politeness about it.
Oh, so sociopaths? Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. We went right there.
We did. Shoot.
Right to jail.
Vampires will just like like you said, pick out your vulnerability. Like a predator, they know what they're after, and then they just drain you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So how do you prevent, or how do you become mindful of those people that are closest to you, that are doing it with or without intentions? What do you do about that?
Boundaries.
Yeah, but what kind of boundaries?
Well, yeah,
See,
like Leilani was touching on
get
this.
deeper there. Yeah.
Leilani was touching on this, where you give, you keep giving, and you kind of morph yourself to find that place of acceptance. And what I find it happens is you start cutting off limbs. You start giving up pieces of yourself to satisfy other people, to help them, and you create this psychologically codependent or enabling relationship. And that's where you have to kind of go back into Psychology 101 and set up firm boundaries and say, no, you know what? I'm not going to keep helping you do this, but I will tell you how to do it. And then you keep a distance. Meditation helps too, because that creates a buffer.
Yeah.
What the meditation actually does for you is it teaches your mind how to focus and to pause. So when you're awake and you're out there dealing, you get vibrational stimulus coming at you.
Yeah.
And you're automatically trained to pause before you respond. And that gives you the space that you need to filter, to feel, to understand, and then make the right decisions.
I want to touch on this in like 2 seconds, what you're saying. But I think one of the things when you're dealing with toxic people, you're a gifted person, you're dealing with toxic people, especially when those people are in your family, this really sucks to say this. It really does. It's one of those things that just isn't fair. But sadly, the onus is on the person who is aware of the situation.
Exactly.
And it sucks to say that. It sucks to admit that. And it sucks to have to take accountability of that. But that's the reality of it. Because you're gifted, because you are aware that what is around you is toxic, and you can't get out because you're a minor who lives with a toxic family and you're not about to leave anytime soon, now it becomes your responsibility to then find avenues and find ways to keep yourself safe, to keep your boundaries up, to be able to still have these interconnected relationships. Because at the end of the day, these relationships are important. We are social creatures. We learn and we grow. And so in that state, instead of looking at it as, how can I change myself? How can I change them? Instead, you're looking at it as, how can I learn this? How person is toxic, I love them, they're my mother or they're my father, but they're toxic. So what can I do to learn from this person and still keep myself at a safe distance?
Right.
And that's a very difficult thing to do, and it fast, but the reality is we wouldn't have these gifts if we weren't here to learn quickly and then be able to then, turn it out to help someone else.
So let's take that for a moment. Did you address the point that you wanted to address also?
No, but that's that later.
No, address it, please.
With the whole meditation thing, I agree 110%. One of the things that I was so as a kid, and I hope that I can advise other people to do it if they have the finances to do it, is to put their child in martial arts. Like, that was one of the best things that I think I could ever ask for, was to be put in martial arts, because it taught you not only the meditation that you need thoughts down to be able to address something from various perspectives and see things. I train the body to be a presence and to be a still point, and that mindfulness that you, and the control to be able to use your body and your mind in such a way. It's amazing, and it works so beautifully with this idea of spirituality and magic and all that.
It's the foundations of magic.
Yeah.
It is. And one of the things, is there anything else you want to add to that? One of the things that I want to really point out, and I think it's very important that we take a look at this, when we're dealing, a lot of times when we're dealing, like I had a family, I had a family that was very, very passionate. And in their passion, they never realized that they were filtering each other's emotions.
Oh yeah,
through that passion, and then it would escalate, and it keep escalating, and then it turned into something that maybe it shouldn't have turned into. But then here came the explosion, then the guilt, then the blame, and then back to getting quiet again. So for a minute, I want all of you, anybody that's listening, to take a moment and think back, and wonder and ask yourself these really important questions. Was my mother an intuitive? Was my caretaker an intuitive? Was my guardian intuitive? Was my dad an intuitive? Was my sister or brother were intuitives? Whoever I lived with, were they intuitives? Were they empathic? And if they were, what is it about them that they had that was peculiar or different to habits that other so-called, and I say with air quotes, so-called normal families, mind you, air quotes, so-called
right.
normal families didn't have or didn't experience. As an empath, I do know that with my aunts and my mother, they were very extremely moody, but and the extreme moodiness didn't come from that they were just moody, mean people. It came from the fact that they were picking up everybody and everything around them and did not know how to process it.
I have a point to that.
Please, by all means, Mother.
Because when you're talking about, identifying, thinking back and seeing who was intuitive and what their behavior was, what that was going to make me tell you was that when we're empaths and when we're psychics, especially empaths, and you're bringing in all of that emotion, you really do have to release it, because that's part of the responsibility of an empath. That's one of your gifts, is to help other people process their emotions.
Right.
So you may have another intuitive in your family who has no clue how to process these emotions, and they come squirting out in anger, and they tell their neighbors they love you and they hate you, and I mean it just everything gets all mixed up. And as the empath, of this and move it through your body and release it for them. And that's like the basics of healing, when you connect with another person and you take on their physical symptoms and release that.
Right.
So as the empath, you're healing from the heart, you're healing their souls in that way. So if you find that happening, then you're recognizing that somebody's really kind of feeling everybody else's emotions. Try connecting with them, feeling that, and releasing it back to source, or actually Mother Earth likes to take it too. So just
and part of that education too is to remind them that emotion does not belong to them. It's not theirs. They should not own it.
Right, but who taught us that? It was trial and error for us.
It's trial and error.
And one of the most important things growing up is that when we experiences, can we get to the point that we can use understanding as a form of forgiving?
Of course.
Yes.
Right,
yeah.
But can you apply it? Will you apply it? Or will you hold on to that agitation?
I think that's where we're evolving to.
Right.
And there's different stages and phases that we go through. But ideally, I think unconditional love is what we're all after.
Go ahead.
Just to bring it back to when you were talking about meditation, that's another way to be able to help an empath or an intuitive to understand what doesn't and does belong to them. If you meditate and you practice your meditation and you understand what your baseline emotion is and what your baseline feeling is at any given moment, then you'll know when someone walks in the room or when something is happening and you start feeling things, you'll understand, oh, okay, wait, just 2 seconds ago I was not feeling this. This was my baseline.
Right.
So now all of a sudden I'm feeling this. This isn't mine. And you can then process it and work it out. And I think skip that step somehow. It's like they just go about life very free-flowing, and then all of a sudden you're at a party, everyone's drinking, having a good time, and now you're feeling things and you're like, oh, this is
Exactly.
So what do we do with those who don't know how to forgive? How do we get them to get to that place, not forgive, but to understand, who are not putting themselves in a position to understand that when they were overreactive, or they situation allowed their intuition, it really, how do you recover from that? How do you forgive that?
It happened, just, oh, I got it, I know how to do that. It's something we evolve into.
Right. Do you know that what I've this is a personal study I made. Personal, medical background to this at all. I believe 99% of the people who suffer from anxiety disorders are empaths.
Oh no, I know that. That's.
No, but not a lot of people know that. Not a lot of people know that.
Anybody who's psychic or an empath, their anxiety levels go up when they're not filtering the information,
or not aware of what they're picking up. And because what we do as an empath and as a person surrounded by intuitives, we blame ourselves for something that we don't understand what we're picking up.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we blame ourselves, we kind of beat ourselves up on that.
And because we're not connecting to our source and allowing everything to flow, it's pinched off, it gets bottlenecked.
Right.
All of that information, all that energy gets stuck in us and literally starts bouncing off of different organs. And your body itself is, just through genetics, has its weaknesses. Everybody's got something that's a little imperfect. And with all of that psychic energy that builds up in there and has no release, it starts to ping off of those weak spots.
Right.
And that's when you start developing illnesses. So meditation does a lot more than just calming your mind. It actually improves your health.
Right, and somebody actually pointed out, it said somebody who, this person that I'm aware of her, she's a great person. She says she has extreme high anxiety, so she must be extremely gifted. And the reality is, yes and no.
Right.
Yes and no. Yes, you can be extremely gifted, but high anxiety sometimes, anxiety steps in that you put in your mind. Mm-hmm. So you may be gifted, and as you're processing, you're picking up more stuff. Well, God bless you, because now you're going to drive yourself crazy. That'll drive yourself to drink, one or the other. And you get to that point that you just don't know how to filter, because nobody really takes the time to teach this generation, whatever generation you had, how to deal with events. I'm very fortunate to have a father who was aware of that, and he taught me how to filter it and how to do that. But still, being around my beautiful, beautiful, crazy aunts, they still gave me a lot of anxiety because, intuitively, they're picking up what I'm feeling. They have their own assumptions. And now I'm picking up that they're looking to set me up. So now I'm nervous, I'm stuttering. I don't know how to say it. Into the right, and I'm not, and I'm stuttering and all that, and then here comes the whip. You know what I'm saying? But
baby.
Well, thank you, but
it's okay. It's Latin culture. That's how we do.
It's part of it.
That's how we do.
It's part of Latin culture. But what I found out in dealing with the elders, a lot of the elders go back to that childhood energy, and they are dealing from that intuitive, empathic childhood energy, and that's where the moods come in, because now they still don't know how to turn it off. And one thing that is really important is that we have to teach those who are closest to us, if they're willing to learn, and if they ask, how to filter that intuitive energy, so.
And even if somebody's not open to meditation, you can get them to practice a mindfulness through any of their daily activities. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it could be washing dishes. I had one woman who found washing windows connected her. Sometimes it could be. So I just showed one client how to pick a focal point and focus on her breath as she was running, and it worked for her. Mm-hmm. She's able to connect that way. She's able to set up a shield. If somebody's not open to sitting there and doing meditation, there's ways within their reality that you can show them how they can practice that sense of mindfulness. And
I want to bounce off of that for sure. Mm-hmm. So, because, we're talking, today's topic is about living with someone with intuitive gifts, or if you're that person living with someone who doesn't have intuitive gifts, how do we cope with all that? And I have to give a huge shout out to my husband, because my husband is what we would consider a muggle, you know what I mean? Someone who does not have a stake in this world at all, in the spiritual world at all, but who is so supportive and so there for me, his wife, throughout all this process. And one of the things that, as someone who doesn't have a gift living with someone who does,
we should bring him on the show.
We really should. We really, really should, because he's amazing. One of the things that he is so wonderful at doing for me is, it's true, when we're all over the place, when we've taken on all people's gunk and we're just like on autopilot and we're going, he has a wonderful way of just his own normal self being like, hey, Lenny, slow down. Because what he'll see is, I'm washing the dishes, and all of a sudden I'm cooking, and then all of a sudden I'm doing this, and this dish is still not done, this cooking thing got burnt, this over here got messed up because I was doing 25 things at once. So he saw it being filtered into our day-to-day lives, and he was like, okay, no. When you're out there, you're doing all that, but when you come here, this is the time of peace. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, my advice is, for those of you who live in a home with someone who has gifts, try, even if you don't believe in what they do, try and remind them that home, especially where you are,
right,
is a place of peace,
right,
and a place of acceptance and understanding. So I may not get it, I may not believe it, but when you walk through the door, you can take it all off and you can relax, and it's okay. You can do it, and that's what my is. Find that in their lives. I really do.
No, I'm actually I have a person that I really, really love deeply, and one of the lines that they give me is, which means peace. Be still. That now when I'm out in the world, overwhelmed by all this input, stop and listen to it, and then I get that sense of peace that brings me back down and says, okay, we're cool, and we're at this place. One thing though, and I want to bring that segment up in about a few minutes, but there's a question here that I want to pose to both of you. Dawn asks a question: would being in an area filled with spirits cause high anxiety?
Sure.
Right. So
sure.
Could you explain? You quickly answered. Why do you say sure so quickly?
Because you're surrounded by different vibrations. You could be feeling and what they were feeling. You could be receiving messages. I mean, there's a whole host of energetic activity, and if you're not filtering it, like sometimes, as mediums, we get tired when, we have those seances with Billy Beeler, which is coming up in February.
Okay.
Talk about it.
Those can, after an hour or so, you can start getting lightheaded from it. Mm-hmm. And we're practiced at grounding and connecting. So if you're not open and grounded, then that could absolutely make your anxieties shoot through the roof.
Absolutely. And what do you say?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And how your experience has been being in an area that has higher activity? Now, I'm not saying paranormal activity. I'm just saying higher energy activity. How do you recognize that, and what are some of your habits that you do to kind of deal with that?
I'm very much a trance mover, if that makes sense. So okay. So for example, if I'm in a room, a party, I like to say party just because a lot of young people tend to watch my videos. So I'm at a party, everyone's engaged in their own thing, emotions are running high, you got people over here bickering about this, you got this over here, and there's a lot of stuff happening, right? And you walk in, as an empath, it's hitting you, boom, 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 all at once, right? So in a situation like that, what I like to do is I'll find that one thing in the room that's constant. So if the music is thumping, you'll see me on the dance floor like, hey, just letting it all out, right? If there's a really in-depth conversation happening in a corner about some topic that I don't know nothing about but I want to learn, I'll go right there and I'll just engage myself.
You find your safety zone.
I find a safe zone. Perfect. And I engage in
Perfect.
that.
Perfect. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about. What's the best advice to those who are like that? What do you say are some of the things that they should start practicing? I mean, meditation is one. We talked about that the whole last 45 minutes. We've been talking about meditation.
We talk about that in every show.
Right, we do. And so, but what would you say is some of the practices that you would do based on your experience in your culture, your family background? What things do you do to offset that energy and deal with being an empath and dealing with people that are around you? Any suggestions on what people can do?
Definitely being out in nature.
That's a great one.
Definitely being out in nature. Nature is naturally grounding, so just being out there, taking in the fresh air, walking around, it naturally just neutralizes everything for you. Another piece of advice, and this is something that I still do to this day because I love it, is being okay with being alone.
Right.
Loving yourself, finding things that you enjoy doing by yourself and engaging in those often. And I think probably, what was the question again? I do that a lot because I go off and then my mind wants to go in like 25 other directions.
The question is, what are suggestions that you make for people who are surrounded by family members or in the situation that they have high energy, high empathy, highly intuitive? What are some of the things they can do to offset that intuition, that energy? So that's the question.
Well, for me, I'm the opposite. I need time alone. That's how I recharge. That's how I get my sustenance, whether it's me sitting and making something on the sewing machine or throwing pottery. I have to connect with my sense of creativity. I need to be alone. When I am around people and they're not sensitive to what's the things that I'm seeing and feeling, I try very hard, and this is something that I'm still struggling with, is not getting angry because I'm not getting the response or the support that I want.
Right.
And I try and do what I call pivoting. If I find myself obsessing over how I wasn't heard or how I wasn't understood, it may not happen right now. So I'm better use of my time and my energy makes me feel good.
That's beautifully said. I think one of the biggest issues people have is this desire to be understood, and we latch on that. It's okay to not be understood. It's okay to not, and most importantly, it's okay for people to not forgive. It's okay for people to not understand you, because that's their boundaries. That's their way of saying, I'm not ready for this. And that's okay. That's okay. You know, I think one of the biggest pieces of advice we can give to people who are going through all this is have faith in your power of attraction.
Right.
If you are who you are and you stay centered in that, the people and the things that are going to come into your life will come. They will come.
And that's where, again, the pivoting comes in there, because if you're carrying into that state of grace, the things that you're angry about, the things that you want but can't get, it really starts to set up a resistance to getting what you want. So that's where we go back to mindfulness and meditation. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, our indigenous and earth shamans and people who practice paganism and any kind of earthy religion, they had techniques that were very phenomenal in dealing with high spiritual energy.
Oh, yeah.
One of the techniques was dancing. They would go out and dance, and they would pound the earth with their feet, and they would dance and it would release. Another technique was smoking tobacco, guys. But anyway, yeah, because I can't say the other stuff, but tobacco.
There was other stuff.
All right, yeah, but you know,
yes.
Going to earth and to commune with earth in the sense.
Burn some sage.
Burn sage, Palo Santo, whatever it is that you're comfortable with.
Breathing techniques.
You know, I actually do that in the mornings. Right. I take my little wand of sage and I go sit by this wonderful tree in front of my house. I lean my back against it, put my feet, even in the snow.
Right.
I put my feet on the ground barefoot. I light the sage and we connect.
Mudras.
Mudras, right.
Tapping.
Yoga, tapping, right.
Yoga, yeah.
And you'll be surprised the simplest things will help you do that. You know, like I used to be in the Native American circuit and I used to dance. And when I would dance, the dancing released so much energy for me that at the end of the dancing, I felt calmer. I felt, excuse the terms, I felt post-orgasmic. You know, it was just all done. I was good. I was like in a good place, and I would do that, and it just felt like so relieved of the energy that I was picking up and encountering. But there's one simple, very simple technique that we haven't even talked about that we can use to deal with over energy, high energy people. And the technique is silence. Don't even deal with them. Cut them off. Don't talk to them. Don't engage. It doesn't matter who they are. It could be your mother, brother, sister, wife, children, whatever it is, best friend, co-worker. Silence. Silence is a phenomenal teacher.
And it doesn't mean silence and festering in anger. It just means find that peace and remain silent.
Right. Well, and you know, somebody asked a question right in the middle of the statement. They asked the question, how do I recenter myself and be able to hone in on my gifts again? And of course, and the reality is that silence and meditation go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the technique that we can use. Me, I like a good cigar and a nice shot of rum, or cognac, and I'm good. I'm good to go. And all of a sudden, I have, because I'm one of those happy people that get recentered, and I'm right where I need to be at. But mind you, those people who are challenged by addictive behavior, not a good route to go.
Right.
But to go out there and to, like you said, put your feet on the ground, to dance, to sing. Like Leilani has a phenomenal voice. We got to get her to sing here one day.
Oh gosh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. The singing, go into the arts, to go into different things.
Be very present in your body.
Exactly.
I think sports is a great way of doing it. Swimming, running is amazing.
Right.
Like you said, dancing. So anything that puts you back into your body will help to recenter you and help to keep you present and focused.
And people, there's another thing that's very physical.
Woo!
Right.
It happens in February.
Right. And it's really a lot of fun. And you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got a partner that you are really into, that is a phenomenal way to get recentered. It's a phenomenal way to get that, because all the endorphins that are released when you have that bliss that you go through really heal the soul, the body, and the heart. And it resets. Because I've been married like 400 times. So one of my wives that I was married to, when we broke up, the doctor, did you have anybody to be with? And she said no. And what she ended up doing is that the doctor asked her to come see me to recenter her, because she was accustomed to that energy and accustomed to that physicality. And remember, back in the days, the invention of the vibrator comes from the fact that women were suffering from this thing called dementia. Not dementia.
Hysteria.
Hysteria. And that's because and so, believe it or not, releasing is a very important moment, and making love to others, yourself, is a very phenomenal way to now say you want to get that, because if you're used to it, and all of a sudden it stops, because those endorphins need to be released and they need to be connective. So, but shout out some more your
a lot
people.
of people just came on that I'm excited about. So we got Chris, we got JD, Jill, Gloria, my husband Archie, who came in around the time that we were talking about him, so he was happy about that. Tina, Tharacia. Yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging in there. So in case you didn't know what we were talking about to all the new people, we are talking about what it is to be living with a partner, a family member, or a child with gifts. How do we cope with that? If you are someone who's gifted, and you're living in a situation with people who don't have those gifts and don't understand and don't believe, how do you cope? How do you deal? So get your questions going. How many people you got, Martha? Anybody in there?
Well, I want to say hi to Francisco and Marion, who's really tuned in now, and everyone else who's joining us. We had some technical difficulties on this end, so part of it got cut off.
Boo.
But they can always tune into
www.polandpublicradio.org or thebeatofthevalley.com. But also you could get this on Mixcloud. The Angel Aura Show.
Mixcloud.
It's rebroadcasted on Mixcloud. You're allowed to listen to it 3 times, so listen so we can get popular. And like us, follow Leilani, follow Martha, follow myself, Sacred Owl, and also follow, of course, the Angel Aura, a Spiritual Boutique, because we have our pages and our profiles there. But is there any announcements, anything that you guys want to talk? I know we have an up-and-coming seances coming.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tell them about February. What's going on in February? Got a lot of things going on.
Well, February, we have, on the 13th, Wine and Spirits with Star.
Yay,
So
Star!
there's going to be wine flowing and good humor flowing, and Star's going to connect you with those from beyond.
Yes.
She's an amazing medium, and she's going to hold this gallery. She'll stand up there and start bringing in loved ones, and everybody winds up with a message. So.
And we love our star.
Yes,
we love our star.
She's such a little twinkle.
And Leilani, what do you have coming up?
So on February 1st, I'll be doing that Love and Lust workshop crafting class.
Okay.
So that's there for all of the people who are interested in working. The 15th, I'll be doing another charming class by popular demand.
Wonderful.
Everyone was really loving on that
Congratulations,
class.
yeah.
So we're gonna bring it back. We're gonna do the charming, and hopefully that'll evolve into maybe a monthly meetup where we learn about different divinations every month, something different, which will be exciting.
Fantastic.
And then
on the 28th, we have another Angels and Dragons attunement with John DeBlasi. I don't know much about this.
Oh, I know.
You know him?
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm going. I don't
That's
know
cool.
about, but I'm going.
That's exciting.
Awesome. That is awesome. And I have my meditations that I do every Sunday. I'm also available for readings. All of us are available for consultations. We all have our very unique way of doing it, but it all seems like we have the same answer at the end of it all. So, if you need help or if you want to talk, we want to just come on down to the shop. The shop is the Angel Aura Spiritual Boutique at, great. Okay, good. See, at 12 West Main. The number is 30432. That's 845-493. 0432, and the website is the Angel Aura Spiritual Boutique.com. Okay, AngelAuraBoutique.com. We'll post it up on our timeline so that you know.
Or you can just Google Angel Aura Boutique.
You got this. You guys got this.
Yeah, it'll connect
click
right
on the
to us.
website,
You can do
click on
it.
the phone.
I believe in you.
You got it.
And mind you, everybody, for all those that have been listening in, write us. Let us know what you'd like us to talk about. We have a ton of topics that we have in our brains.
But we want to hear from you.
Yeah,
for
we want to know what you want to hear because you're important to us.
You can
guys
send an email to Diane at angelorboutique@gmail.com. Whatever your thoughts are, whatever your comments are, whatever you're interested in knowing about.
That's right, and come tap into us, and then you get to listen to us beautiful people here at the radio show, and also we want to say, Diane, we miss you.
We miss you.
Yeah, and I hope your hiatus has done nothing but giving you a ton of blessings and a ton of clarity. We love you, and we thank you for allowing us to do the show, because without the Angel Aura Boutique, this show wouldn't be going on.
Facts.
And you guys, all you wonderful people, all of you, thank you. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being a part of us. If I didn't say hi to you guys, please forgive me. I have a ton of people watching, and it's not me. So write us in. Give us your birthdays so we can announce birthdays.
Yes,
fun.
Because if we get a certain birthdays, we'll do the astrology for the week for that particular person. Like whatever sign that is. And if you want to do Aries, like I could do Aries every week because
for them too.
right. Exactly. If you have a question,
tarot.
that's right. A birthday. That's right. Great.
Rob's our engineer. He's doing a fabulous job.
September 18th.
Oh, September!
Yes.
Yes.
All that great Virgo energy that goes along with that.
So we might have to treat him earlier because he's doing so much work.
Well, absolutely,
Yes.
we definitely could do that. And but we thank also Rob, our engineer. He does a fantastic job. And thank you all guys for being such a powerful influence in doing what we have to do, so that way we can get going and doing what we want to do to make our things happen. So, Rob, you could take us out any moment, anytime you want. And again, the Angel Aura Spiritual Boutique. And listen to our rebroadcast on Mixcloud.com. That's usually going to come in probably by the end of tonight or tomorrow. And you can hear the show, or you could come to our pages, Leilani's page,
the Angel Aura page,
the Angel Aura page, and Sacred Owl page, and you could hit the video button, because we're going to save it, and you can listen to the whole show. Please write in, let us know how you feel. We love you. We thank you.
Light and progress.
Peace and love.
Yes, I love
Angel
you both,
hugs
guys.
and fairy kisses.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Be well.
All right, to my Magical Solution people, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. So until next week, bye.